What is going on, Raptors Nation? Luca here, back with another video. Double duty tonight. Dropped the pod a couple hours ago, and of course the Raptors had a game tonight. They lose to the Chicago Bulls 116-110. I'm going to talk about it. Do me a solid, everybody. Hit a like on the video. It helps it a ton. And also, please subscribe to the channel for more Raptors content just like this. So the Toronto Raptors, they lose to the Bulls, but they fought hard. I got to give this team a lot of credit. It's been a crazy last couple of days for them. Second night of a back-to-back. The Bulls came in fresh. Yeah, the Raptors were at home, but nonetheless, still had to play another game after they just traded away Siakam. And the post-Siakam Raptors, a lot of fun. I mean, this was a game that the Bulls, they did have some big leads. You know, they led by as many as 14, but the Raptors fought hard, kept things close, had the lead late. This was a very winnable game for them. And Scotty Barnes, I mean, we got to start with him because Scotty Barnes just gave us a glimpse of the future. And the future, you know, it does look bright. I know a lot of people are still sour about what happened with this, you know, trading Siakam and this team now entering a rebuild. But I'll tell you guys something. This rebuild's not going to be as bad as what some people think because, you know, in these types of situations, you usually wait a long time until you have a guy who you could build your team around. And the Raptors seemingly have that guy already. Like Scotty Barnes, he had a very, very stellar performance. He continues to be a fourth quarter performer. I put it out on X. You want to build your team around a guy who can perform in the fourth quarter. There's going to be things he needs to work on. It wasn't all perfect. And, you know, I'm going to get to that in a second. But Scotty Barnes, 31 points. He had 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks, was 11 of 18 from the field, aggressive, got to the line 9 times, hit 7 of them. Now, the one thing about Barnes that he has to work on and he needs to clean this up are the turnovers. He had 6 pivotal, costly turnovers in this one, especially late in this game. His decision-making needs to be a lot better. For as much as Barnes likes to play freely and emphatically, he's got to be more of a better decision-maker, especially when these games come down to the wire. But look, this is what the rest of the season is for. And I made this very clear on X. The rest of the season isn't about wins and losses. It's about continuing to develop these young players. So if there's ever a game where you want Scotty Barnes to, you know, have 6 turnovers and figure it out as he goes along, it's in this game against the Bulls on January 18th because Scotty is going to use this to then get better the next time. And that's what these rebuilding situations are all about. You know, it's not about winning every single game. You're not necessarily looking at the play-in anymore. You're not looking at the playoffs. Certainly not looking at the playoffs at this point. But, you know, you use these moments to get better, to work out the kinks. There's going to be a lot of growing pains. And this was an example of it, right? The game against the Miami Heat, everything went right. The Raptors were shooting the lights out. 24 hours later, it was the complete opposite. The Raptors couldn't buy a 3. They struggled mightily from the field in this one. But despite that, like I said, they hung around. They made this a game. They shot at 10 of 38 from 3, still had a chance to win. I mean, you know, that was in large part to Chicago sticking up to join even worse from 3, if that's even possible. They shot at 6 of 24 from 3, a percentage lower than the Raptors. And obviously, you know, points in the paint, the Bulls dominated. No Jakob Poeltl, no rim protection. Vucevic, he did his thing. But, you know, you look at what the Raptors gave you in this one. Barnes obviously had the stellar game. This game was on TNT, so the national, you know, media got to see it on national TV. All eyes on him. RJ Barrett had 17. Emmanuel quickly did struggle from the field, but, you know, overall, he has been solid for this team. 12 points, 4 of 10 from field, 2 of 7 from 3. The thing about quickly, I will say, is sometimes he uncharacteristically tries to force up threes, and he's got to, you know, cut back on that. Like we saw it in the fourth quarter. It was a key possession. It was a really early in the shot clock, and quickly just shot it right away. So I want to see quickly have more patience and not necessarily force threes just because in those situations. But yeah, I mean, this was a game that the Raptors could have very well won. DeMar DeRozan, every time he comes to Toronto, feels special. He had 24. Vucevic, like I said, I mean, he dominated in this game. He had 24 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. He was the best player for the Bulls. Kobe White had 23. He was big. Zach LaVine, we saw him tweak his ankle there in the third quarter, and right away he knew it was bad because he was visibly upset. I mean, he threw a chair. He was pissed. And he did come back in this one, but he was never really the same. Zach LaVine played 24 minutes. I don't think he scored in that second half. You could tell it really affected him. So, I mean, he was able to come back into the game, which is good news if you're a Bulls fan and just an NBA fan who hates injuries like myself. But hopefully, Zach LaVine can, this doesn't limit him in any way. And I know he's a hot name that's been on the trade market next to Siakam. So, yeah, Zach LaVine, it was an important, critical part of this game. It looked like the Bulls were starting to pull away in that third, building momentum, but then he gets injured, he goes out, and the Raptors, come back into this thing. Like I said, they made it a game late in the fourth quarter. Patrick Williams had 12, Dosunmu had 10, and then going back to the Raptors, Gary Trent Jr., I mean, you just hope that he can find some form of consistency because, yeah, he had the brilliant game the other day, and then he struggled tonight. 6 points, 3 of 8 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. And that's what drives you nuts about Gary Trent Jr. Like, he is a streaky player. Like, one night he can look like the best shooter to ever live, and then the next night he just looks like just an average guy. So hopefully, he's going to get opportunity here as a starter. That's not if the Raptors put in Bruce Brown, which I don't think they'll do, to really, try to solidify himself as a starter. But obviously, Gary Trent Jr.'s name, could come up in trade talk. Masai Ujiri hinted at it earlier in his press conference following the Siakam trade that more trades are coming. So a Trent Jr.'s name could obviously be thrown into trade. He's an unrestricted free agent. And then a guy who many people don't think is gonna stay here long with the Raptors, myself included. It might just be one of those cup of coffee tenures. Bruce Brown. But I gotta say this, Bruce Brown, he played solid in his Raptors debut. And we know the type of guy and player Bruce Brown is, right? He can seemingly fit in anybody's system. Like, he's one of those plug and play guys. He does so many things well, good defensively. You look at his production in this one, 25 minutes, 15 points, 7 of 10 from the field, 7 rebounds, an assist, a steal. He was plus 11. And it's funny because, you looked at his body language early on in this one. It looked like a guy who didn't want to be here, so to speak. But Bruce Brown played like he did want to be here. And, that's going to be an interesting situation because the Raptors obviously can keep him. And Masai Ujiri alluded to it that, he did say that Brown is a key to what we're trying to do here. But then the flip side of that, too, is Bruce Brown, he's a very attractive asset and he is a movable contract. So if the Raptors do elect to maybe cash in on another first round pick and a deal for him, they have that flexibility. So the Raptors getting the deal done with a couple weeks left before the trade deadline gives them that flexibility. But yeah, I thought Brown was solid in his Raptors debut. We didn't see the other new guys in this one. No Nawara, no Lewis Jr. They were cleared to play. Jonte Porter, very quickly, I thought, he did a good job as well. The thing with him is he gets into foul trouble, seems early. He had the quick 2, but then after that, he did a good job of not fouling. He only finished with those 2 personal fouls, had 10 points, hit a couple threes, proving to be a stretch big, 4 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. And hopefully Jonte Porter could end up being, that gem that really pans out for this Raptors team overall, because in this rebuilding phase, the Raptors are going to need, some of these hidden gems to cash in. So, yeah, overall, the Raptors lose this game. But like I said, it's not going to be a whole lot about wins and losses moving forward, guys. It's going to be about, seeing this team play hard, compete, and see how they fare in these closely contested matchups when, the game does get close in the final moments. And, we saw an example of that. Guys like Barnes still has, ways to go before he can become a more polished closer, if you will. But I mean, he's showing you a lot of good things. Like, Scotty Barnes in the fourth, pedal to the metal. You got to like some of the things that he has done. Definitely being aggressive when you want him to in a game like this. So Raptors lose to the Bulls. The next game is going to be a fun one, guys. Definitely don't want to miss it. It's going to be Quickly and Barrett's official return to New York. Raptors traveling to New York to take on the Knicks. They will, of course, go up against their former guy, OG Anunoby. So that's going to be a great one. And yeah, we'll see how that one pans out. But that is going to conclude this post game. As always, thank you so much for watching. It's Lucas signing off. Until next time, stay safe.